Welcome friends. Tales of Herding Gods episode 78 explanation. Without any delayed start our explanation. Qin Devil King raised his head up high as he brought the old, weak, sick, and disabled elders of disabled elderly village forward. There are many able-bodied people in the village, so why is it called disabled elderly village, he thought to himself. Disabled elderly village today no longer fit its name. It even had young people like Granny Sai and Qin Mu in the village, so the word elderly itself owed some discussion. Old Ma, butcher, and cripple were already able-bodied, while Granny Sai might still be disabled in her heart, her body was fine. The only ones who were still missing parts of their body were blind, apothecary, village chief, mute, and deaf. However, Qin Devil King didn't know that to the people of disabled elderly village, the disability of the body was not a disability. Their true disabilities lay in their hearts. Village chief was exhausted from not being able to fulfill his responsibility, which left him disheartened. Even if he was able-bodied, he still wouldn't walk out of great ruins. Apothecary had sliced his face off due to the pressure caused by the debts of relationships. Even if he regained the looks of his golden age, he still wouldn't dare to go out and face people. The reason why blind was down was not because he had turned blind. And even though old Ma had regained both his hands, he still couldn't pull himself together after the death of his wife and child. He was still unable to forgive himself. Granny Sai's heart devil, cripple's past, deaf's homeland, mute's mysterious past, and the reason butcher raised his knives at heaven were all shackles that restrained them. The disability in their heart was their true disability. They had sunk into a sorrowful past and were unable to break free of it. This was the reason behind disabled elderly village. If it was not because the child they had raised ran out, the people of disabled elderly village would have stayed quietly in the village and awaited their deaths, digging a pit to bury themselves. Qin Mu's arrival had gradually livened their hearts, but even he couldn't make them walk out of the past that had left them disabled. The true disability is when both the body and the heart are disabled. Because of this, these people could only rely on themselves to walk out. Qin Devil King was truly the Devil King of another world. He knew so much that even blind was endlessly impressed by his knowledge and concrete details. Qin Devil King had completely convinced him with his attainments in algebra. They came to the border of the forest, which was near the end. There were only 2 more miles or so, but Qin Devil King had to spend half a day just to cross these 2 miles. It's New Year's Eve, Granny Sai suddenly said. Old Ma shook his head. It's not considered New Year's until all the people of the village are present. Butcher's voice was loud like a bell. We must find village chief, mute, and apothecary, see their bodies. Even if they're dead, we'll drag them back for New Year's. There was no more path in front of them, just the crumbling carefree village. There was no more land here at the end of the forest but a clean cross-section. Standing at the edge of the cliff, Qin Mu looked down and saw another forest. He couldn't help being stunned. Another forest? He said in astonishment, this forest grows on the cliff, so how are the trees perpendicular to the ground? Qin Devil King jumped off the cliff and gave a thump as he stood steadily on the side. His body was perpendicular to Qin Mu's as he walked to and fro. The seal here is much more complicated than what I thought. It's formed by a cube which seals carefree village within it, controlling the electromagnetic force of this place. You guys will know when you walk over here to take a look. Qin Mu stretched out his leg carefully and suddenly felt an attraction force below his feet. Placing his feet down and lifting up the other leg, he realized that he was standing on the cliffside without any discomfort. Not only that, from where he stood, it seemed like was standing at the edge of the cliff while Granny Sai, Old Ma, and the rest were standing on the cliffside. Only he and Qin Devil King were standing on flat ground. He looked around and was slightly shook. He saw that the opposite side also had a forest that was perpendicular to the ground. Other than that, the sky in the other directions also had forests. This kind of situation was like pieces of land wrapping around carefree village to form an enormous hollow ball. However, looking from the geography, it didn't seem like a simple hollow ball. It seemed to be pieced together by thousands of cubes of different heights, while at the center of it was carefree village. Every cube was 1,000 miles of forest that was folded up, and every side of the cube was the obverse side. This kind of divine art was beyond what he could imagine. Even an existence like Imperial Preceptor wouldn't have been able to imagine that such a divine art could exist in this world, right? The electromagnetic force here has changed. Blind also walked over and felt the force of attraction. This great divine art is no small matter to cover the entire Carefree Village. I'm afraid the only exit is the place from which we came. Countless seals just to prevent the people of Carefree Village from walking out. Granny Sai also walked over and raised her head to look at the debris of Carefree Village floating silently. They were still quite a distance away from it, and she said, "Village chief and patriarch possess remarkable abilities, so they should have gone in there, right?" Dutian Devil King raised his head and walked back onto the path they had come from before shaking his head. There are many restrictions in the sky, and it would be hard to avoid them if one was to fly over. I would need to calculate for some 30-50 years to find the safest path. If my true body was here, I could do it faster, but it would still take me 1 or 2 years. The god that left behind this seal is too strong, not something that you guys can handle. If anyone tried to fly into Carefree Village, they are most likely dead. He muttered, "The entire Great Ruins is a cursed land, with a peculiar rule that shrouds it. It's really hard to live in a world like this. So Cult Master Qin, even if you invite me into this world, I won't come back again. This world is too twisted." Blind muttered, "Village chief is definitely alive. That old fellow doesn't take anything seriously, but once he does take something seriously, he will definitely be able to do it. Wait a minute, don't you guys think that the shape of Carefree Village looks like a ship?" Everyone raised their head to look. Carefree Village was extremely huge, but even though it was in ruins, they could still see the glorious and magnificent sight it was in the olden days. There was also a sun that was about to sink into the darkness hanging farther away. However, if they pieced these shattered peaks, huge pieces of machinery, and the destroyed city together, its shape did indeed look like a huge and grand ship that was inconceivable. In comparison, the sun and the moon ships were nothing. Carefree Village is a ship. Qin Mu felt it was too much for his brain to handle. Even though the sun in the sky was a man-made one, it was extremely huge. If the city and mountains were combined, it would become even larger and surpass the size of the sun and the moon ship by 1,000 times. Could there be such a huge ship in this world? Great observation, Blind. Cripple's eyes lighted up, and his breaths became rapid as he pointed towards the sun that was half consumed by darkness. This sun should be the source of energy for this ship. It's a huge pill furnace. An unimaginably huge pill furnace. Granny Sai rolled her eyes at him. "You can't carry it home." Dutian Devil King was also slightly shaken and said under his breath, "Such a huge pill furnace, what was this ship used for? Why is it sealed here? Could it be? Ha ha ha, I must be thinking too much." He laughed coarsely and didn't speak another word. Old Ma said, "Ships are used for ferrying passengers. They bring people to their destination. So this ship must have its own destination as well." Deaf, who had been silent, suddenly said, "Isn't it Carefree Village? Carefree Village is carefree, so why does it need a destination? With a destination, it won't be Carefree Village anymore. If it's not Carefree Village, what's its destination?" Everyone looked at one another in the eyes and said in unison, "The true Carefree Village." Qin Mu stared blankly. The guess of these elders from his village left him even more at a loss. True Carefree Village, wasn't this place Carefree Village? However, what Old Ma and the rest said made sense. Since such a huge ship was constructed, it definitely had its destination, and the destination of this ship might really be the true Carefree Village. Yet this ship was discovered by the enemy which had destroyed and sealed it. The people who were lucky enough to survive tried to escape from the seal but ended up suffering disastrous casualties. They had then spent countless years to pave a way out. The devils in the darkness were also searching for Carefree Village and even thought that this was Carefree Village. However, this was only a ship that was headed to Carefree Village. If Carefree Village is not here, where's the true Carefree Village? Qin Mu was at a loss. Where exactly is my hometown? Did any of my clansmen survive? His mind was in a mess, and at this moment, a silver light flashed across the sky. A silver boat flew out from the city, and on that silver boat stood Mute, who was holding onto a wooden chest. On the boat were also 2 white-haired elders, a faceless man, and a youth. Mute controlled the silver boat, flying nimbly in the air to avoid the divine restrictions in the sky. Qin Devil King was dumbfounded. The path that the silver boat was taking now was the safest path that he had to take dozens of years to calculate. This silver boat ferrying the people traveled back and forth among the divine restrictions. It was like a clever fish going in all directions to avoid all kinds of danger. After some time, the silver boat descended from the sky and landed in front of the group. Apothecary carried out village chief and walked down the boat while the young patriarch shook his head. "Why do you have to carry him? He can clearly fly by himself." Apothecary was stunned and placed village chief upright on the ground with a smile. "I'm already used to it." Qin Mu and the rest immediately came forward, and Mute opened up the wooden chest. The silver boat melted and turned into silver pellets which went tinkling into the wooden chest. Mute closed the lid with skill and picked up the chest. When he saw everyone walking over, he revealed a grin and waved his hand. Ah. Everyone went forward and surrounded the newcomers, full of all kinds of questions for everyone, especially Mute. How did he know about the safe path that even the extremely knowledgeable Qin Devil King required dozens of years to calculate? What exactly did they see when they went into the city in the sky? Was that place carefree village or not? Were there any survivors? Everyone was about to say something when village chief floated over and smiled at Qin Mu. "Mua, let me tell you a piece of good news. We have finally found your surname." "Apothecary, hand the things to him." Apothecary poured out many things from his pouch. There was a waist tag, bronze mirrors, a horizontally inscribed board, an imprint, a jade pendant, and some clothes. On all of these items, there was one word: Qin. "Your surname is Qin." Apothecary smiled. "There are many such items in that city, and village chief asked me to gather a few. Look at the handwriting on them. Doesn't it look like the handwriting on your jade pendant?" Qin Mu's mind was blown. He looked back at the small village he had passed by on the way here. A flicker of hope reignited in his heart. Village chief seemed to know what he was thinking and said, "That place may or may not be where you were born, and that family may or may not be your parents. There is still a chance that your parents are alive." They went back on the path they had come from, and when Qin Mu saw that empty village again, he walked into the room that had pasted the Shi word and picked up that baby clothes that had the Qin word sewed on it. The more he cared, the more flustered he became. When he had come here the first time, he was deeply affected and couldn't keep calm for a long time, therefore he couldn't see any of the tiny clues. The Qin word on these items that Apothecary had brought out was nearly the same as the one of that baby clothing. They looked like they came from the same template, but if one examined carefully, there was still some difference. Qin Mu had learned calligraphy from death before, and if he could calm his heart down to look at it with an ordinary state of mind, he could also see that the Qin word on the baby clothing was different from the Qin word on his jade pendant. However, his emotions were out of control then, which had influenced his judgment. Now that he had examined carefully, the Qin word on this baby clothing should have been traced out before sewing thread by thread onto the clothing. The Qin word was indeed different from the one on his jade pendant. The other people in the village surrounded village chief and patriarch to ask them about their encounters and what they had seen on that ship. Village chief shook his head. "It was too dangerous inside and we didn't delve deeper. We only circled around the outskirts and had almost died. Luckily, Mute was here, therefore, we could safely retreat." Everyone immediately asked Mute how he knew about that safe path and managed to bring village chief, patriarch, and the rest in and out. Qin Mu walked out of the courtyard and he had the same suspicions as well. Even Qin Devil King said he would take 1 to 2 years' time to find a safe path into that ruined ship if his true body descended, so why did Mute manage to barge in so easily? Everyone kept asking him for a long time and Mute didn't say anything. He only revealed an honest smile and gave 2 Rs when he got anxious from the pressing questions. Everyone immediately looked at Deaf. Deaf and Mute were the closest buddies and Deaf knew Mute's intention the best. Deaf was always the one translating when everyone didn't understand what Mute meant. However, Deaf was at a loss this time. It was obvious he didn't know what Mute was saying as well. "This Mute don't want to say anything. Granny Sai said angrily, "You'll stifle to death sooner or later. Everyone rest in this small village while that dragon Qin stuck close to the young patriarch." Now, this dragon Qin was full of energy and rubbing himself around patriarch. Patriarch struck a posture wanting to beat him, which managed to chase him further away. However, he would come back in the next moment and raised his dragon tail as he rubbed against the young patriarch's clothes, which were now filled with holes made by him. "You're getting too fat," the young patriarch said bitterly. "I had already said I'm going to die of old age. I'm abandoning you. Stop rubbing yourself on me. Don't think of jumping into my arms. I can't carry you now. Shoo shoo, go away." On the other hand, Blind was annoying Qin Devil King about some questions regarding algebra. Qin Devil King was slightly fearful of the people in the village, therefore, he also tried his best to answer his questions. However, he only answered Blind's questions and didn't offer to impart more profound algebra to him. Apothecary hurried from person to person to check on their injuries and treating them. Qin Mu walked into that house. Even though this might not be the house of his parents, this place made him feel at peace. Mute also walked in and looked around. His rough hands caressed that small wooden horse and picked up that piece of clothing. This thick and solid man had a very gentle gaze. Qin Mu looked towards him and Mute turned his head to give him a grin. "It's time to go." Granny Sai hurried, "Go back to the village to celebrate New Year's Day. Patriarch, that plump pig that you had raised can finally be slaughtered to eat. Butcher is skillful at that and can still whip up a few good dishes, just enough for 2 tables. You dare." The young patriarch was nervous and shouted, "Don't think about touching him. Ever since you were young you were already sneaking crafty glances at my dragon Qin, always wanting to eat him. Go away, stop rubbing against me, I'm not going to pat you. Elder of Discipline, drag him away." Elder of Discipline chased the dragon Qin over to Qin Mu. The young patriarch looked over and saw the dragon Qin moving its buttocks to walk to Qin Mu. He was so fat that his buttocks were as round as a ball. He was as fleshy as rhinoceros, and every time he took a step, his round buttocks would jiggle uncontrollably. This fellow must have been cadging meals from the cult master, and his meals aren't bad as well. When I met him back then, he was small like a cat and rubbed himself against my leg to cheat food out from me. He ended up becoming fatter and fatter from me feeding him and glued himself to me. The young patriarch sighed. The dragon Qin then was so small and he could even embrace him and caress his head. What a huge ship! Everyone came to the front of Moonship and couldn't help being astonished. Cripple planned to steal this ship away and got scolded by Granny Sai. "Damned Cripple, even if you can steal it, where are you going to park it? I'll break your leg if you place it in the village." Cripple could only drop his thoughts. He asked Qin Mu how he had managed to drive this ship here, and after hearing Qin Mu's encounter of driving the ship, Cripple's thought sprung into action again, attaining the mighty strength of Heavenly God after becoming the Moon Guardian. He quickly ran to touch the giant pillar on the ship, but when he found that there was no transformation, he could only return. There were too many unsolved mysteries in Great Ruins, and Moonship was just one of them. When they walked out of that formless barrier, the sun was already hanging high up in the sky. It was noon, but the weather was still very cold as snow had fallen some time ago and the land had a brilliant snow-white cover. The mountain ranges were also dyed in white and they gave off crunching sounds as they walked in the snow. There were a few bears hiding in the hollow tree in the ruins, and the mother bear was embracing the baby bears while sleeping soundly. When that mother bear saw Qin Mu and the rest suddenly appearing, she opened her eyes in astonishment but was so lazy that she didn't move. She only nudged her body before going back into hibernation. Qin Mu looked back and saw the barrier vanishing. That unimaginable huge ship that was sealed inside, Moonship, as well as the incomparably complicated cube seal had all vanished. What replaced it was a vast forest. Only when the night fell would this mysterious seal appear once again. "Let's go, let's return to the village for New Year," Village Chief said calmly. Everyone began to return, and this place was very far from disabled elderly village. The journey would still take 1 to 2 days, but it was a good thing that everyone was safe. The second evening, they had finally returned back to disabled elderly village. Qin Mu, Granny Sai, and Old Ma started to get busy decorating the village and preparing New Year's Day dinner. Qin Mu brought red paper over for Def to write the auspicious words and spring festival couplets. He then called Qin Mu over to let him paste them on everyone's door. Paste it on the chicken coop also. As well as that ancient tree in front of the village, paste one there to invite prosperity in. Granny Sai instructed. Everyone worked hard for quite some time and finally, everyone in the village could sit down to eat and drink fine wine together in cheers and laughter. The young patriarch and elder of discipline also sat down and joined them in the hearty New Year's Day dinner that had come late. Early next morning, the young patriarch and elder of discipline bade farewell. There are still countless mysterious in great ruins and it would be pleasant to search and take a look at them before I die. Fellow Dao friends, there's no need to send me off. When he was done, the young and the old left towards the distance while stepping through the thick snow. Duqian Devil King looked at Qin Mu and said, Devil Cult Master, it's time to keep your promise. Qin Mu said with a firm look, Devil King, don't worry. I'll keep my promise and release you. Blind and Cripple came forward and Duqian Devil King became extremely nervous before shouting, Devil Cult Master, are you thinking of letting them capture me again after releasing me? How dare you? Qin Mu was a little embarrassed and shook his head at Cripple and Blind. Cripple muttered, this fellow is a good helper and if I can make him stay, I can steal even more stuff. Qin Mu said warmly, Devil King, don't worry. I shall remove these sealing runes on your body and you'll be able to regain your freedom. He undid the sealing runes on Duqian Devil King's body one by one and only then did Duqian Devil King become at ease. Little buddy Qin, Duqian, and here are two different worlds. After we part today, we may never meet each other again. After all, the life of you mortal are short and your lifespan is merely a flick of a finger to us, over in an instant. Maybe when I think of you again, you have already died thousands of years earlier. This is actually quite sad now I mention about it. Qin Mu smiled, Devil King, I can also contact you frequently. I still know Ghost Transferring God Dispatching Runes command from Great Mountain Sect. Duqian Devil King laughed loudly, your world is too dangerous and even if you summon me over, I won't come. After I go back, I'll be looking for a new world for my people to survive. Qin Mu undid the last of the seal and said, Devil King, you can return now. Duqian Devil King gave a try and discovered that there was really no seal before becoming fully at ease. Let us never meet again. Once he said that, his consciousness tunneled into the void and vanished. Qin Mu raised his head and smiled, who can tell what will happen in the future. Duqian Devil King's consciousness returned to Duqian World and went back into his original body. That majestic Duqian Devil King immediately knew what this consciousness had encountered and was greatly shaken. Letting out a murky breath, he thought to himself, a dangerous world that is being monitored by gods, it's indeed not a dwelling place for my Duqian citizens. Looks like it's time to find a new world. Mua, come over. Village Chief called out. Qin Mu hurried over and Village Chief hesitated for a moment. I pondered for quite some time but there is still something I have to tell you. Other than the numerous Qin word I have found on that ship, I had also found something else. Apothecary. Bring that thing over. Apothecary hesitated. Is it suitable to give it to him now? Village Chief shook his head. I don't have much long to live and if I don't give it to him, when should I give it to him? Apothecary took out a mirror and handed it over to Qin Mu. Qin Mu took over the mirror and didn't find anything unusual about it. Village Chief said, inside this mirror is a geographical map which leads to Carefree Village. We have found this on that ship. You can stop examining it. This mirror has been sealed by me. Only when you can break my seal, you can see the route in this mirror. That place is too dangerous and I don't want to let you go there now. Qin Mu was silent. Suddenly, he knelt down and kowtowed to Village Chief. Village Chief immediately said, get up. There's one more thing. Suddenly I feel that there are quite a number of weights on your shoulder, the young cult master of Heavenly Devil Cult, the orphan of Carefree Village. Maybe it won't be much if you take on my responsibility as well. Today, I shall take you in as my disciple and hand over my responsibility to you. From today onwards, you will be the next generation's human emperor. The next generation's human emperor? Qin Mu was bewildered. This title was slightly weird. There was obviously an emperor in this world as well as cult and sect masters of all the various big sects. Everything was being managed and governed, So what would the human emperor do? There seemed to be no free space in this world that the human emperor could rule. Human emperor is not high above, and he doesn't have any power, only responsibility, village chief explained. Human emperor is not a position from which you will rule over all living things, nor will it let you give you supremacy to recklessly wage wars to kill those that don't submit to you. Human emperor is a state of mind, a kind of righteousness and justice. Every human emperor has a treasured seal which has been handed down since the first generation human emperor. I've thrown in under the bed, so go and fetch it. Qin Mu went to village chief's room, and there was indeed a black lump under the bed. Once he took it out, he saw that it was a palm-sized black iron seal and with birdworm seal script carved onto it. Qin Mu passed the black iron seal to village chief, who said, "This is the human emperor's seal, the supreme sacred artifact of our bloodline." Qin Mu looked at the seal and mumbled, "Village chief, does our bloodline have any other sacred artifacts?" Angered, village chief smashed the human emperor's seal onto Qin Mu's head, causing a big swelling on his forehead. This iron lump was then placed into Qin Mu's hands. Village chief said, "The human emperor's seal has been passed to you, so you are now the next generation's human emperor." So simple. Qin Mu was stunned. Apothecary was also shocked. Village chief had always said that his responsibility was too huge, his burden was too heavy, and the title of human emperor was too powerful and shocking. Because of that, he always thought that a grand ceremony would have to be held for Qin Mu to inherit the position of human emperor. Never did he expect village chief to just throw a black lump at Qin Mu and be done. There are not many who know about the title of human emperor anymore. We are not a sect nor are we emperors of a country, it's just an inheritance. It's passed down from generation to generation, so there will only be one in each generation, and usually the smartest person with the best comprehension will be found to inherit the title. The smartest one in this generation is Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, but I don't think he would be interested. He has also already gone down his own path, so it would be hard for him to accept my inheritance and responsibility. Village chief sighed. I'm also too lazy to go out, so after thinking for quite some I decided that you barely make the cut. Qin Mu consoled, village chief, don't force yourself, I think you can still find someone better. Apothecary had a weird expression while village chief almost died from holding back. The brat was obviously finding it troublesome, and since there were no benefits, he really wasn't willing. Your guts have grown quite a lot since you went out, how dare you be sarcastic? Village chief sneered. Are you going to be the human emperor or not? Qin Mu begrudgingly said, sure, just give me all the dirty work. There's already plenty of it I have to do, so an extra human emperor won't make a difference. Village chief was speechless from anger. He wished he could grow out an arm just to knock the youth on the head as he scolded. Countless people begged me to teach them my sword techniques, but I didn't teach them. They begged me to leave behind my inheritance to them, but I didn't give it to them. How dare you reject it like that? Qin Mu lowered his head and kicked away a pebble as he said resentfully, I'm not rejecting, it's just that this title doesn't have any use. Village chief, why don't you just teach me your sword skills and pass this title of human emperor to someone else? Village chief smiled with anger and looked at Apothecary. You say, is he rejecting it or not? Is it that embarrassing to be the human emperor? You're getting more and more ballsy. Apothecary coughed and said, you two shall slowly talk this out. I will go take a look at my worms so that they don't freeze to death. Village chief was filled with anger, but then he suddenly came to the realization and broke out laughing. Other people begged me to teach them, but I didn't, and now you're making me change my way to beg you to learn, is that right? You're becoming more and more mischievous. Honestly, you're really not fit to be the human emperor. I'm just really too lazy to go out, else I would definitely find an even more outstanding youth than you. Qin Mu muttered softly with a pout, I have an overlord body, who can be better than me? Village chief almost choked to death. Qin Mu immediately went forward to massage the old man's back, and village chief regained his breath. So when Qin Mu was about to say something, the old man said, stop talking and let me relax, it's too much for my brain to handle. The corners of the old man's eyes twitched. As the initiator of the lie, he had finally received his comeuppance. After some time, he managed to recompose himself. It had been just a white lie which everyone took for a truth, for which he felt secretly proud since everyone believed in it. Yet now he had chosen Qin Mu as his successor, so could he have also come to believe that the youth had an overlord body? Too many lies make me have no choice but to believe them even when I clearly know they're not the truth. Oh well, oh well. Village chief relaxed and smiled. We, as the human emperors, only have one responsibility. Light burst forth from his eyes as though countless sword lights were coming, dazzling Qin Mu's eyes, to cut down gods, devils, and heaven itself. What belongs to the gods is managed by gods, what belongs to the devils is managed by devils, what belongs to the humans is managed by human. If gods or devils dabble with this, we'll cut off their hands. If gods or devils stick their necks out, we'll cut off their heads. This is the most basic responsibility of the human emperor. When you get stronger, you will have even more responsibilities. To cut down gods, to cut down devils, to cut down heaven. Slay your way up to heaven. Ey, come back. Qin Mu threw the human emperor's seal back into village chief's hand and turned around to walk away. Village chief blew up, and his vital qi transformed into a huge hand to grab him back by his collar. With a pleasant countenance, he said, "You are the human emperor of this generation, so how can you not know the aim of our bloodline?" I haven't finished, still trying to run. Apothecary, apothecary, help me grab him. Apothecary didn't come, but Qin Mu still couldn't break free and was forced to give up. Village chief continued, "There aren't many rules for our bloodline bearers, and the aims are only these. I will impart my sword skills to you, but how much you will be able to comprehend will be up to you. That's right, we also have the Hall of Human Emperors, so you can drop by when you are free to witness the meritorious exploits of the past human emperors. Also, even if my sword skills are not bad, but if a god or devil saw you using them, they will definitely make a move to kill you. Stop running, you can't escape my grasp." I didn't run back then and succeeded this inheritance without thinking it through. "Granny, save me." Qin Mu called out for help. Granny Sai was full of smiles as she told Blind beside her, "Village chief, that old fellow is finally willing to teach Mua his legacy. Look, Mua is so happy that's he going to cry." Blind turned his head and said in suspicion, "I heard him calling for help." He's elated. Granny Sai beamed. Village chief's legacy has made countless people envious. He was the #1 man in the world back then, the famous sword god, so Mua is naturally speaking incoherently from being overjoyed. Qin Mu simply couldn't break free, so he had to accept his fate and throw the human emperor's seal into his Daotai sack. Village chief was very pleased. "You have already learned the first move of sword picture, sword treading mountains and rivers, now show me if you improved any after this while." Qin Mu acknowledged this and executed sword treading mountains and rivers. His execution was different from what village chief had taught him, since he had incorporated Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's spiral sword form, drill sword form, and swim sword form into it and added numerous variations. After executing the move, Qin Mu retracted his sword chi back and looked at village chief nervously. Village chief was astonished and seemed to be thinking as he said, "This is the basic sword form Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor taught you?" Qin Mu nodded. "Village chief, I changed the sword treading mountains and rivers that you taught me, disrespecting you. Do you want to fire me and find another human emperor?" Not bad, village chief praised. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor is not bad, to be able to be original and create new moves on top of the 14 basic sword forms. He is indeed more suitable to be the human emperor. However, you aren't bad as well, to not stick by the rules and even dare to execute the sword treading mountains and rivers you changed in front of me. Very well, very well. Your vital chi thread has also changed. Did you use spiral sword form to refine your chi into a thread? Qin Mu nodded. Village chief said, "I shall use my 5 elements realms cultivation while you will use your new sword treading mountains and rivers, and we will exchange a blow." Qin Mu's eyes lighted up and he smiled. "Village chief, if I defeat you with my move, can I not be the human emperor?" Village chief revealed a smile and refined his chi into a sword while saying leisurely, "All right. If you can defeat me, I'll bring the human emperor's seal to the grave." Qin Mu took a deep breath, and his body suddenly changed. He transformed into the form of Venus Sovereign that had the head of a white tiger and stood on 2 dragons. His vital chi transformed into gold chi, and he gathered his chi into a sword whose sword lights instantly exploded forth. Sword treading mountains and rivers. Under his sword, the mountains and rivers appeared like a painting being unscrolled to cover the entire village, sending village chief inside it. Not only had he incorporated Imperial Preceptor's basic sword form, he had also incorporated the path of painting that Def had taught him. With thousands of mountains and rivers bombarding the opponent's face, it was as if the attack was a real world. This kind of profound sword skill could no longer be described as a sword skill. It was a path, the path of a sword. His sword treading mountains and rivers unleashed its full power, and at that moment, village chief's sword light flickered. It was sword treading mountains and rivers as well, so it was like 2 worlds colliding with each other. No sword light could be seen as a terrifying power burst forth. Kai, 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 Kai. Dozens of bloodlights appeared around Qin Mu's body as he got injured in numerous places and flew backward. When he crashed into the wall of Butcher's shop, sword lights appeared and carved a pattern of mountains and rivers around him. These were the traces left behind by village chief's sword lights. Once more, Qin Mu shouted out and sealed the wounds on his body as he rushed towards village chief to execute sword-treading mountains and rivers again. The next moment, a human figure flew out and crashed into old Ma's house. There was another pattern of mountains and rivers around the youth. Qin Mu was stunned as he slid down from the wall. Applying the dragon's saliva on himself, he pondered hard and continued improving his sword-treading mountains and rivers. After some time, he rushed towards village chief once again, once more. Boom! The wall of the smithy gained the imprint of a human and around it was the pattern of mountains and rivers. This pattern was poles apart from the pattern on the other walls. Every time village chief made a move, the patterns of the mountains and rivers were different. Mute popped his head out from the smithy and took a look at Qin Mu before laughing silently. Qin Mu's face turned black as he applied the medicine before continuing to rack his brains. Getting rid of all the weakness in his move, he improved the sword skill. Once more, a human figure flew through majestic mountains and rivers before crashing into Def's wall. Like and comments, friends. So this video will end here.